As the midterms approach, we enter what's become the season of October surprises. As you know, an October surprise is when campaigns drop their most devastating political attacks at a time when those attacks are deemed most effective. And the media, which is staffed and controlled by the most powerful corporations and establishment politicians, is chomping at the bit to once again punch down on lower and working class Americans with more Democrat propaganda. We already have one example, the anonymously sourced attack on Georgia Senate candidate Herschel Walker. However, what's interesting about this story is not that it's another completely baseless attempt to salaciously malign a conservative candidate for office. No, what's interesting about this story is that anyone anywhere takes it seriously for even half a second. At this point in 2022, when the FBI is scouring the country for members of the political opposition, you'd think most people would have caught on to the fact that those smiling faces on the glowy box have something of a credibility problem. And yet, most people, even conservatives, reflexively gasp at every tabloid insinuation put into electrons. Even if that insinuation concerns a race that has a conspicuously high level of strategic importance to the Democrat oppressor class. What's wrong with us? Why do we keep going back to the same untrustworthy people for information? Is this a form of collective battered wife syndrome? The press is not here to help. They are actively looking for the slightest pretense to paint you as a terrorist in order to throw you in a prison where they treat you so bad you'll go blind from malnutrition. They aren't just this once telling the truth, and they won't at any future time tell the truth. They're liars. Slick, seasoned, professional, highly paid, and well-connected liars. It's what they do and why they're there. Unlike our first Puerto Rican president, their lies aren't a habitual tic born of a lifetime of dissembling. The media's lies are deliberate, targeted at some future utopia where both a gallon of gas and a bottle of ketchup cost $8. As a matter of fact, over the past 5 or 6 years, the media has been caught red-handed, telling whoppers of such grand scale that they undermined American democracy and caused massive nationwide economic and physical devastation. However, very much like the feds, they have investigated themselves and concluded they're blameless. Their very own scandals have been completely memory-holed. Disappeared quicker than a Christian protester at an FBI picnic. I get it. Such big accusations demand proof. I'm not the corporate media, so I can't cite myself and say it comes from sources familiar with the matter. So let's just take a brief glance at the many times the media lied and Trump was right. Keep in mind, this list of media malfeasance is only cursory. We're picking low-hanging fruit, and I could go on about this for the rest of the week, the rest of the year, actually. So I'm going to do a little something I call Trump was right. This may become a regular segment on this show if I stick around longer or come back to guest hosts. We'll see. But let's go back to early days when the media accused Trump of saying, without evidence, that Trump Tower was being monitored. It turns out the FBI was surveilling Trump and his campaign through Carter Page via a warrant so untruthful that even Helmut Ray had to admit to Congress that not only that such surveillance took place, but that it was also illegal. Fact check, Trump was right. Under that story about the server under Trump Tower secretly connected to the Russian Alpha Bank, the story Trump denied and was eventually proven to be an outright lie shopped to the media by none other than Hillary Clinton's campaign. Another fact check for Trump, and we haven't even left his iconic tower. And what about the Russia election hacking cover story? This is a unique story because it was shopped in multiple formats. Some outlets claimed Russia hacked U.S. election infrastructure. This overblown story took some isolated laptop malfunctions in a single county and proffered them as proof the Kremlin ran the 2016 election. It wasn't until 2020 that the DHS finally admitted that story wasn't true. But the Russia hacking story used to frame Trump concerned the DNC server. You know, the hack that revealed the Democrats were racist, manipulative liars. The hack that Trump dispatched Bob Mueller to investigate, only to come up empty-handed. Well, it turns out that story, as well, was another lie planted by Hillary's campaign to be manipulated by the corrupt media and government. That's 2 more points for Trump. And who can forget the legendary Ukrainian phone call scandal, the one that led to President Trump's first impeachment trial? The president himself blew up those accusations when he released full transcript that proved Alexander the Buffet bomber Vindman's attempt to implement his own personal foreign policy instead of that of his boss. Again, Trump was right. While we're on the topic of impeachments, let's talk about that second impeachment. You know, the one that happened after Trump left office? Apparently, calling for peaceful protest and tweeting out calls for his supporters to go home later that same day is not the same as taking over a first world nuclear powerhouse. No wonder that impeachment also failed. Trump was right. There's a really good trick to finding more examples of Trump being right. Just search for the phrase, without evidence. For example, this MSNBC article that says, quote, Trump says without evidence a certain vaccine could be ready by Election Day. It's a gotcha headline based on a misleading quote. In reality, Trump said only that it was possible but very likely around that time. The emergency use authorization was signed by the FDA on November 20th. Verdict, Trump was right. NPR was criticized for claiming Trump had no evidence that Kyle Rittenhouse shot in self-defense. On November 19th, 2021, Kyle was found not guilty on all counts by a jury of his peers. Don't look now, but Trump was right again. Trump's entire presidency was marked by this incessant and baseless ankle-biting. It seemed the man couldn't even feed fish without sending the press into a frenzy. They endlessly forecast gloom and doom over his economic, energy, and foreign policies, even though his economy was booming, and under Trump, we lived in a more secure America, a safer America, and a more prosperous America. Again, Trump was right. Now that we're being asked to eat bugs and give up home heating at 2 minutes from nuclear midnight under Sleepy Joe, these same people seem to think this is fine. And it might be, for them. If they want to live like that, be my guest. But that's never how it works. The people who put Biden's horrible policies in place are never the ones who suffer. It's the rest of us. However, who don't have fully stocked bunkers under palatial mansions to wait out the rest of Biden's Build Back Better policies to work their magic. We need a president whose grasp of reality goes at least as far as being able to tell if a congresswoman is alive or dead. We need truth. We need Trump. The sooner, the better.